What if mental strength wasn't about what you do, but what you refuse to do? We often chase success by adding more habits, more strategies, more self-help tools. But what if the real transformation lies in letting go of self-pity, toxic guilt, fear of failure, and the need to please everyone? That's the core message of Amy Morin's powerful book. True mental strength isn't about doing more. It's about not doing the things that drain your power. Amy Morin is not just a psychotherapist or author. She's someone who has walked through deep personal grief. She lost her mother unexpectedly. Later, her husband died suddenly at age 26. And then, just as she was healing, her father-in-law was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Each time life knocked her down, Amy found strength in choices, not just what to pursue but what to release. This inspired her viral article, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, which later became this life-changing book. Let's dive deep into each of these 13 things, not just to read them, but to reflect on how we can stop doing what weakens our minds and start building unshakable strength from within. Let's begin. 1. They don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. Mentally strong people don't sit in self-pity. They stand up in self-power. Let's be honest, life can be unfair and sometimes heartbreak comes without warning. You lose a job you loved. Someone betrays you. A dream slips through your fingers. And in that moment, it's natural to feel pain, confusion, even despair. But here's the truth. Mentally strong people feel their pain, but they don't wallow in it. They don't let sorrow become their identity. They don't repeat the story of "why me?" over and over until it becomes their reality. Self-pity gives us temporary comfort. It feels like we're nurturing ourselves, but in reality we're feeding helplessness. You might catch yourself thinking, "I can never catch a break. No one understands how hard I have it. Everything always goes wrong for me." It feels like a protective shell, but it becomes a cage. A cage that keeps you stuck, small, and blind to your own strength. So what mentally strong people do instead? They acknowledge their pain, but they don't make it their identity. They ask, what can I control in this situation? What is life trying to teach me here? What's one small step I can take to shift forward? They focus on gratitude instead of grievances. They take responsibility instead of staying stuck in blame. They remember that hardship is not a reason to give up, it's an invitation to grow stronger. Let's look at a real-world example. Amy Morin, the author herself, lived this truth. After losing her mother and husband in quick succession, she was shattered. And she admits she wanted to feel sorry for herself. She did cry. She did feel lost. But she realized something powerful. I had to stop asking why this was happening to me, and start asking what I was going to do with it. She turned her pain into purpose. Instead of spiraling into victimhood, she wrote the article 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, which later changed millions of lives. When you indulge in self-pity, you give away your power. You stop trying. You isolate yourself. You miss out on opportunities for healing and joy. Over time, your identity becomes tied to your wounds, and even when things start to get better, your mind doesn't allow you to feel better. Here's what you can do today to stop feeling sorry for yourself. 1. Name your emotions. Don't suppress them. Acknowledge the sadness, the anger, the disappointment. 2. Challenge your narrative. Is life really always unfair to you? Or are you seeing through a narrow lens? 3. Practice gratitude. Even in the darkest days, find one thing to be thankful for: a kind friend, a hot meal, the sunrise. 4. Move forward in small ways. Journal. Talk to someone. Take a walk. Clean one drawer. Any action breaks the cycle of stagnation. 5. Remember, you are not your pain. You are the person healing from it. Feeling pain doesn't make you weak. Wallowing in it forever does. Mental strength isn't about pretending everything's okay. It's about saying, "This hurts, but I won't let it define me. I choose to rise." So next time life knocks you down, let yourself feel, but don't sit in the rubble. Stand up, dust yourself off, and move, even slowly, toward who you're meant to become. Now, what's next that AMY says mentally strong people do? 2. They don't give away their power. No one can control your mind unless you hand them the remote. Every time you say, "She made me feel worthless. He ruined my day," you're giving someone else control over your emotional state. And that's exactly what mentally strong people refuse to do. So, what does it mean to give away your power? It means letting others decide how you feel, how you think, how you react. It means tying your peace to someone else's behavior. If someone criticizes you and you spiral into self-doubt, you've handed them your power. If someone cuts you off in traffic and you're angry for hours, they're still in control even miles away. So what mentally strong people do instead? They set emotional boundaries. They choose how to respond. They don't react on autopilot. They say, I may not control what others say or do, but I control how much power I give to it. They reclaim their peace, their time, their mental energy. Let's look at a quick real-life perspective. Amy Morin talks about clients who blamed bosses, exes, even childhood trauma for their present-day emotions. But she gently reminds them, healing begins the moment you take your power back. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about refusing to be a puppet pulled by someone else's strings. Your takeaway from this is, you don't need to please, explain, or react to everyone. You have the right to walk away, to stay calm, to protect your inner world. Mentally strong people know your power is precious. Don't give it away, guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. And that brings us to our next point, point 3. Mentally strong people, they don't shy away from change. Growth begins the moment comfort ends. Change is scary. It's uncertain. It shakes the ground beneath what feels familiar. But here's the truth. Mentally strong people don't fear change. They prepare for it. They know that avoiding change may feel safe. But it's often the reason we stay stuck, small, and silently frustrated. The question here is, why people avoid change? Because change threatens identity. What if I fail? What if I lose what I already have? What if I'm not ready? But mentally strong people flip the script. They ask, what if this change is exactly what I need to grow? What mentally strong people do? They don't wait for the perfect moment to embrace change. They create it. They understand that every transformation is uncomfortable at first, messy in the middle, and powerful in the end. Instead of resisting change, they lean into it with curiosity. They trade comfort for growth, fear for faith, control for courage. It's not always about huge life overhauls. Sometimes it's choosing to speak up, to leave what's no longer working, to try something new, not because you're fearless but because you're ready to evolve. Mentally strong people don't see change as a threat. They see it as a portal to the next version of themselves. Let's discuss our next point, point 4. They don't waste energy on things they can't control. What you focus on expands, so why water the weeds? We all do it. We stress over things completely out of our hands. What if it rains on the day of my event? What if they don't like me? What if the economy crashes? But here's the reality. No amount of worry has ever changed the weather, people's opinions, or global markets. And yet, we exhaust ourselves trying to control the uncontrollable. Trying to control everything is a form of anxiety wearing a mask of responsibility. You feel productive while you're actually just overthinking. It leads to constant stress, irritability, a disappointment when things don't go your way. It steals your peace and blinds you to what can be influenced, your own choices. Mentally strong people know there's a clear line between influence and control. They focus their energy where it matters most. Their effort, their attitude, their reactions, their decisions. Everything else, the weather, the past, other people's behavior, they learn to release. They practice emotional detachment not because they don't care, but because they value their energy. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Mentally strong people ask, what can I do with what's happening? They shift their focus inward, the only place where real power lives. Let's look at a real-life example. Amy Morin shares the story of a client who was obsessed with fixing her toxic workplace. She spent sleepless nights overthinking her boss's attitude, her coworkers' gossip, the unfair policies. But once she shifted her focus to her response, setting boundaries, updating her resume, eventually finding a healthier environment, she reclaimed her power. Let go of what you can't change, so you can give your best to what you can. So your takeaway. Life becomes simpler and infinitely lighter when you stop trying to steer the wind and instead learn to adjust your sails. So next time you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask, is this within my control? If not, let it go. If yes, do your best. Because mentally strong people don't waste time watering weeds. They water what grows, inside and around them. Let's move on to next point, point 5. They don't worry about pleasing everyone. You weren't born to fit into every mold. You were born to honor your truth. People-pleasing is one of the most socially rewarded habits, and yet one of the most silently destructive. It often starts in childhood. Be a good girl. Don't upset others. Don't say no, it's rude. So we learn to smile when we're hurting, agree when we disagree, and say yes when every cell in our body is screaming no. Do you know the hidden cost of people-pleasing? It seems harmless, even noble. But in reality, it creates a life where you're always performing and never truly seen. You sacrifice your needs, your peace, and sometimes your identity just to keep the boat steady for others. And the worst part? Even after all your efforts, not everyone will like you anyway. So what mentally strong people choose? Mentally strong people make peace with the uncomfortable truth. You will disappoint some people by choosing yourself. And that's okay. They understand that living with authenticity is far more important than living with approval. They know how to say, "No, thank you. I'm not available for that. That doesn't align with my values." Not with anger, not with guilt, but with clarity and respect for themselves and others. Let's learn the power of honest boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're bridges to healthier relationships. By expressing your truth, you create space for real connection instead of performance, inner peace instead of silent resentment, respect instead of manipulation. Amy Morin reminds us, you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Here is a shift that can change your life. Stop asking, will they be mad if I say no? What will they think of me? And start asking, am I betraying myself to please them? Because every time you abandon yourself for someone else's comfort, you chip away at your confidence. Mentally strong people don't live to offend, but they also don't live to please. They live to stay true to their values, their peace, and their authentic path, even if that means fewer likes, fewer friends, or difficult conversations. Because they know, you can either be liked by everyone, or respected by the right ones. But not both. Choose wisely. So, here's the 6th point from 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Morin. Point 6. They don't fear taking calculated risks. Comfort zones feel safe, but nothing grows there. Most people don't avoid risk because they're lazy. They avoid it because they're afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of losing what they already have. Afraid of looking foolish in front of others. But here's the truth. Mentally strong people don't take reckless risks. They take calculated ones. They don't let fear be the reason they stay stuck. Jumping without thinking is foolish. Never jumping, even when you've prepared, is fear in disguise. Mentally strong people take time to weigh the potential losses and gains. Prepare for the worst while aiming for the best. Think long-term, not just emotionally. Then they leap. Not blindly but boldly. Because they know, you can't reach new heights if you never leave the ground. Because risk feels uncertain. And our brains crave certainty. But the irony is, life itself is uncertain. Even doing nothing is a risk. The risk of missed opportunities. The risk of staying stagnant. The risk of living with regret. What if I fall? Oh, but darling, what if you fly? What mentally strong people believe? They believe in betting on themselves. They know every meaningful change, new career, business, relationship, or personal transformation comes with risk. But instead of focusing on what they might lose, they focus on what they could become. They ask, what's the worst case scenario, and can I handle it? What would it cost me to not take this chance? What's the best possible outcome, and is it worth it? And if the answer is yes, they go for it. Think about every breakthrough story you admire, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders, change makers. They all started with a risk. A moment when the fear of staying the same became greater than the fear of failing. Amy Morin emphasizes, mentally strong people don't chase comfort, they chase growth. Your takeaway. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop letting fear drive your decisions. The next level of your life will always demand a next level version of you. And you meet that version through courage, not comfort. So study the map. Weigh the options. Then when your heart says, this matters, take the leap. And that brings us to our 7th point, point 7. Mentally strong people, they don't dwell on the past. Your past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. Everyone has a story, heartbreaks, mistakes, regrets. But mentally strong people know that constantly rewinding the past only robs the present. They don't keep reliving what went wrong, or what they should have said, or what could have been, because they understand you can't move forward while staring in the rearview mirror. So why we get stuck in the past? Because it's safe, it's familiar. Even if it was painful, at least we know it. Sometimes we hold on to past guilt, pain, or resentment like it's a part of our identity. But mentally strong people choose healing over replaying. They say, I did the best I could with what I knew. Now I choose to do better. What they do instead? They forgive, not to forget but to set themselves free. They extract the lessons instead of the pain. They focus on now because that's where their power is. Amy Morin reminds us, mentally strong people don't live in the shadow of their past. They rise from it. Your story isn't over. The past is just one chapter, not the whole book. Stop rereading old pages. Start writing new ones. Because you deserve the peace that only the present can offer. Now point 8. They don't make the same mistakes over and over. A mistake is a lesson, unless you keep repeating it. We all mess up. Say the wrong thing. Trust the wrong person. Make choices we regret. That's human. But mentally strong people don't stay stuck in the cycle of repeated mistakes. They reflect, learn, and evolve. Do you know why we repeat the same patterns? Because it's easier to repeat than to reflect. Change requires honesty, and that can feel uncomfortable. But mentally strong people don't run from that discomfort. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this? Where did I ignore my gut? How can I do better next time? They see every mistake as feedback, not failure. What they practice: self-awareness over self-blame, growth over guilt, irresponsibility over excuses. They don't just say, oops, I did it again. They pause and course correct. Because repeating the same mistake isn't bad luck. It's a sign you haven't learned what life is trying to teach you. Final thought: mistakes are not shameful, but ignoring their lessons is. Mentally strong people don't just survive mistakes, they transform through them. They become wiser, sharper, and more intentional with every misstep. Ready for point 9? Here's the 9th point. They don't resent other people's success. Someone else's light doesn't dim your own. Let's be honest, sometimes seeing others win can sting. Your friend buys a new home. A colleague gets promoted. Someone else achieves the exact dream you've been working toward for years. And you smile, but deep down it hurts. That's normal. But mentally strong people don't feed that resentment. They rise above it. Ever wonder why envy happens? It's not really about the other person. It's about the gap between where you are and where you want to be. But mentally strong people don't let envy turn into bitterness. They use it as a mirror, not a weapon. They ask, what is this showing me about what I desire? What can I learn from their journey? So what they do instead? They celebrate others genuinely. They stay focused on their own path. They turn comparison into inspiration. Because they know, there's no shortage of success. If it's possible for them, it's possible for me, in my own way, in my own time. Final thought: resentment drains energy. Gratitude and personal growth restore it. Mentally strong people don't see others' wins as threats. They see them as proof. Proof that success is real, and available to all who do the inner work. Now, let's continue with the 10th point from 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Morin. 10. They don't give up after the first failure. Failure isn't the end, it's feedback. The first time something doesn't work, most people take it personally. They say things like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. It's just not meant to be. I failed, so I'll stop trying. But mentally strong people think differently. They don't see failure as a wall. They see it as a detour sign pointing to a better route. What makes failure feel so final? Because we often confuse failure with identity. If I failed, I must be a failure. But mentally strong people break that illusion. They understand. Failure is not a reflection of your worth, it's just part of the process. They know that every success story is built on lessons learned through trial, error, and persistence. What they do instead? They reevaluate, not retreat. They analyze what went wrong without self-shaming. They adjust their approach and try again, smarter. They have a mindset that says, it didn't work yet. That's not the same as never. So, the difference is in the bounce back. Think of Thomas Edison, J.K. Rowling, Walt Disney, all rejected, dismissed, or told they weren't good enough. But they didn't stop. They refuse to let a single no define their journey. Amy Morin reminds us, mentally strong people aren't lucky, they're committed. They stay in the game. They keep showing up. So, the final thought is, failure doesn't break you. Giving up on yourself does. Mentally strong people fall, feel it, learn, rise, and move forward with greater clarity. Because to them, failure is just proof that they're in motion, not done. Now, let's move on to the 11th point. They don't fear alone time. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. In a noisy world, silence can feel uncomfortable. That's why many people constantly distract themselves. Scrolling, talking, working, running, anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. But mentally strong people don't fear solitude, they welcome it. Ever wondered why we avoid alone time? Because when things get quiet, the truth gets loud. We come face to face with our doubts, our fears, our unmet desires. And that can feel unsettling. But mentally strong people know, growth begins when distractions end. And what they do in solitude, they use alone time to reflect and realign, recharge emotionally, think clearly without noise, strengthen their sense of self. They understand that being alone is not the same as being lonely. In fact, it's in solitude that they build the strongest relationship with themselves. Because real strength is found in stillness. They meditate, journal, walk alone. Not to escape life, but to connect more deeply with it. Amy Morin teaches, solitude is where mental strength is sharpened. It's where you hear your own voice, without the world's opinions. Final thought, being comfortable alone is a superpower. It means your peace doesn't depend on anyone else. Mentally strong people don't run from silence. They sit in it, and rise with clarity, strength, and calm. Beautiful. Let's now explore the 12th point. Mentally strong people don't feel the world owes them anything. Life doesn't owe you, but you owe yourself everything. It's easy to slip into this mindset. I worked so hard. I deserve that promotion. I've been through so much. I deserve a break. I've been kind. I deserve good things. But here's the truth mentally strong people live by. Life is not fair, and it's not personal. The world doesn't owe you success, love, happiness, or comfort. Why this belief hurts you? Because when you believe someone owes you something, you give them control of your emotions. You become frustrated when things don't go your way, bitter when others succeed, resentful when your effort isn't rewarded. But mentally strong people don't play that game. They don't wait for life to be fair. They own their journey fully. What they focus on instead: responsibility over resentment, effort over entitlement, self-accountability over blame. They don't say, I deserve better. They say, I'll build better. They don't wait for doors to open. They knock, and if needed, they build new ones. This mindset doesn't make them bitter, it makes them free. Because if no one owes you anything, then everything you gain is something you earned. And that's powerful. Amy Morin reminds us, mentally strong people don't feel entitled, they feel capable. Final thought, the world may not hand you what you want, but it will offer you opportunities if you're ready to meet them. You don't need fairness. You need focus. You don't need guarantees. You need grit. Because mentally strong people don't demand, they create. Here we are, the final and 13th point from 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Morin. Let's close this series with the same soul-stirring, empowering tone that lifts and inspires us. Point 13. They don't expect immediate results. Real growth is silent, slow, and unstoppable. We live in a world of instant gratification. Click a button, it's delivered. Post a video, expect likes. Start a goal, want results now. But mentally strong people know, anything meaningful takes time. They don't abandon their goals just because they don't see quick progress. They trust the process, even when it feels invisible. When results don't come fast, most people quit the gym, drop the idea, doubt their worth, tell themselves it wasn't meant to be. But mentally strong people understand. Seeds take time to grow, but that doesn't mean nothing's happening. They don't dig up the soil every day looking for proof. They water it, they wait, they believe. What they focus on instead: consistency over speed, progress over perfection, patience over pressure. They celebrate the unseen wins, the discipline, the resilience, the effort. They know, the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. Final thought. You won't see results overnight, but you'll become someone stronger every day you keep showing up. Mentally strong people don't chase shortcuts. They choose the long road because they're building something real. And what's real lasts. And with that, we complete the 13 things mentally strong people don't do. And here's a short, impactful recap of what we've learned from 13 things mentally strong people don't do. What we've learned, in a nutshell. Mentally strong people don't become who they are by accident. They become strong by letting go of what weakens them. They don't waste energy on what they can't control. They don't fear being alone. They don't resent others. And they don't expect success to come overnight. Instead, they take responsibility for their life. Own their emotions and decisions. Learn from failure, not run from it. Trust the process, even when results are slow. Build discipline, resilience, and a mindset rooted in growth. They don't just survive life, they shape it. If you truly want to build a life that feels powerful, peaceful, and purposeful, you must let go of the habits that drain your strength. Mental strength isn't about being hard or emotionless. It's about being clear, calm, and in control, especially when life isn't. So the next time you're faced with doubt, comparison, fear, or failure, ask yourself, what would the mentally strong version of me do right now? Then do that, because everything you want to become is already inside you, waiting for you to stop holding yourself back. Thank you for being here. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that feeds your soul and strengthens your mind. Until next time, be kind to yourself, be strong for yourself, and keep growing.